July is a month of high-profile international meetings for President Trump, but as the days tick down to the NATO summit and his meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, concerns are mounting over his potential moves in the run-up to those significant events. Let's bring in CNN Global Affairs analyst Max Boot. He's also a senior fellow over at the Council on Foreign Relations, a columnist for the Washington Post. So, Max, let's go through some of these potential moves. As you know, there's a new report from Axios saying that President Trump has privately been suggesting he wants the U.S. to leave the World Trade Organization. What would happen if the U.S. were to pull out?
I think that would be international trade chaos, Wolf, because the WTO is really the underpinning of the entire global trade system, and it has been for decades, going back to the days when it was the GATT, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. Now, the good news is that I think it may take an act of Congress to actually pull the U.S. out, so it may not be as easy as Trump just deciding he wants to get out.
These concerns, as you know, Max, they're compounded by the president's announcement of tariffs against European allies, his comments denouncing the transatlantic alliance, going after NATO, the whole notion of the future of NATO now somewhat questionable. One senior European official tells CNN there's a Trump's hell, where NATO is as bad as NAFTA and the EU is worse than China, adding, and I'm quoting now, "We now have a major crisis." What do you think about those fears?
I think those fears are completely warranted in light of the president's comments, his body language, his actions. Everything he says and does suggests that he has boundless animosity for our democratic allies, for our alliances, for our trade partners, and at the same time, he has almost limitless affection for our enemies. I mean, look at the way that he just a few weeks ago went to war with our allies at the G7 summit. He insulted Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, calling him very dishonest and weak. And then he turned around and slobbered all over Kim Jong-un of North Korea, saying he was smart, great personality, tough, loves his people. So I think, we have to wonder what's going to happen if there's a repeat of this performance next month with another very acrimonious summit at NATO, followed by a love-in between Trump and Putin. And on top of all these tariffs that he's putting in and that our allies and trade partners are retaliating against, this is the direst situation I've seen for the Atlantic Alliance since it was formed in the late 1940s. I mean, frankly, if the Atlantic Alliance in its current form survives the Trump presidency, it's going to be a miracle.
Yeah, we'll see what happens at the NATO summit, and then on July 16th in Helsinki at the Trump-Putin summit. Lots happening next month. Max, thank you very much. Up next, a very